Okay, today is a Saturday. On the I'm gonna start live streaming on this channel. I realize that I don't have a lot of time to edit videos and just be able to organize all my thoughts around the project and then make sure that I can produce a video that's concise and perfect, and then all the editing involved. I don't really have a lot of time, and so I decided that I'm just going to do this. Hopefully, every weekend I'm going to stream this project and not worry about any editing. And it may take a little bit longer to get through the project, but actually, now that I think about it, it actually will go a lot quicker because then now I don't have to worry about editing anything like that. So it'll be a little bit more maybe messy. But maybe that's a good thing. You'll see me stumble through issues, and maybe that might be useful. So today, this would be my first live stream. And so what I want to do is start working on the search results page. And so I'm going to walk you through what I had already built, and then I'll tear it all down, and then we'll just build it up together on this stream. And yeah, hopefully that will hopefully you'll enjoy that, get some value out of that. And so we're definitely not going to be able to go through the entire search results page in this one live stream. And so I think today what I want to focus on is the idea of, well, first of all, creating our routes, the first route, and then also I want to show you sort of how I think about maintaining search filters and all kinds of the state of the search results, maintaining that exclusively through the URL. And so I'm not going to be using React to manage any kind of state for filters, sorting, pagination, all of that. All of that will be managed through the URL with query string parameters. And so for obvious, maybe obvious benefits, you can copy and you can bookmark those and send them off to your loved ones, your spouse, if you're both looking for a property, for instance, and you have a bunch of search results. And so that's what I call a single source of truth in terms of the data, or in terms of the state. So you don't want to manage the state in the URL and in React, because then you have to worry about syncing it all up, and there's no need for that. There's no need for state. We'll just use the URL to manage all of that. So okay, so let me go through what I currently have on the new search results page. And I'm showing it here. This is the home page. I made some style changes. I don't know if you've noticed, but we're going to go over here to the listings page. And you can see here, it's a pretty standard looking page for listings. And I'm pretty happy with the design. You have all of the filters up here. And you can search by city or the address or zip code. If you search for address, let's say I'm searching for a specific address in Knoxville. If you select one of these, it will redirect you over to that property. So you can see here that works. And so we go back there, and then also city. Scroll down here, you can choose zip code, or city. We'll choose city. And you can see here we have search city, and what this does it will create like a slug for the city in the URL. And of course you can refresh this. And that's so now you can put different cities in here. Let's try the zip code now. We'll try that. If you select a zip code, well, the zip code also goes into the URL. So we have search, zip, and zip code. And of course that's, you can refresh that. You can bookmark this if you want. And so all of that is maintained. So if I do, let's say 37737 should take you to Friendsville, Tennessee. So all of that is maintained through the URL. Now let's try the filters. Same with the filters now are going to be query string parameters instead of part of the path. So we have different statuses you can filter by. So for sale, and so you can see here that automatically just updates the query string parameter with property status equals for sale. You go to offer pending. You can see this immediately gets refreshed here, the results under contract. So for sale, you can clear these. There's also property type. This one is set up so that you can select multiple property types. So single family, you can see here that's popping into the URL. And then let's say I also want to look for condos. So now we have two different property types in the URL. You can see here property type equals single family and property type equals condo. View those. We also have beds and baths, 2+ beds, 1.5+ baths. You can see here minimum beds 2, minimum baths 1.5 here in the URL. And then price. I'm doing it as a price range rather than sometimes you see like a slider, a range slider, and I may end up doing that in the future. I actually prefer that because a lot of times what you'll see is like a almost like a chart. So if you can almost see like a sort of a bell curve almost of all the different properties that fit within a price range. And so you can see like, but anyway, I did it this way instead. It's a little more less complicated to do. So I chose this route. And so let's clear all those. And then we have pagination. The page also is part of the query string. And none of these changes, none of these view changes are maintained at all with React State. So all of these filters and pagination and everything can be bookmarked and shared with others if you want. And then lastly, we have, of course, the Google Map. And we have, you can see here you can actually click on some of these. And click on one of these and you get the quick view of this. And then this, of course, will take you to the property detail page. And you can actually zoom in to get, more details. So some of these will, you can see here. So yeah, that is what we're going to be building. But today I'm not going to be building a lot of this. I'm just going to use this time right now to kind of get familiar with live streaming. And the first thing we're going to work on is the setting up the query string, so that we can take the query string and then transform it into a way in a manner that will be usable with Payload and being able to filter with the Payload local API. And all right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. All right, so let me go into code. All right, so I'm going to rewind all of that code back to the state that we had it in from in my previous video. We focused mostly on the property detail page, and we almost finished up the property detail page. There's quite a bit more features we want to add because of so far we haven't dealt with authentication and user profiles, favorited properties, and that kind of stuff. So there's all of that we need to do, but for the property detail page, where we last left off was the contact agent form, and we went through all of that. So now I've rewound all the code back to that version of the code, and let me show you so we're back here, and you can almost see this is the older version of the site. You can click into, oh, I'm not running the server. Let me go back to here and just run it. Okay. That should load. There we go. So this is the version where we left off. We have our contact page. Generate some fake data there if we want. That gets sent. And so, all right, that's what we're going to work on. So you can see here, we actually do not have a search page like we did that I just demoed. All right, so we're going to work on that. Back to the code. All right, so the first thing, of course, is we need a route. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a route group here. Actually, I did that already. It's an empty folder. And so what we're going to do is we're going to add a page in here. So what I have is a search group here, and then under there is search. So we're going to have search in the URL, just like I demoed. And then we're going to have this catch-all slug, or catch-all path. So anything after /search will get captured by this route. So we're just going to go ahead and create a page in here. Oh no, we want export default function search page. All right, so go back to the browser, go over to search, and there we go. All right, let me see if I can combine the view here. We're going to be doing quite a swapping back and forth. And how would I do that? Let's see here. I can take this coding window. I'll have to zoom in a bit more. and then add the code window. I'll just copy this over to the browser one. Hopefully that'll work. And I'll move that up. Okay. This down. All right. Hopefully that will be better. I have to zoom in quite a bit for that to work. All right, so now this will be a little bit easier to show you both screens at once. There. Cool. All right. So what do we want? We're going to do, so what I did was with this catch-all route, we'll just open this up for now. How can I can't open this more. Why can't I open this? Why can't I? All right, so for some reason I can't open this. I can't expand this. Why can't I expand this? There we go. You want to let me expand it? That was weird. If you're zoomed in, I guess you can't expand it. All right, so we have this catch-all thing that I'm just calling slug. You can call this whatever you want, but it's two square brackets wrapped in two square brackets with 3 dots, so 3 like an ellipsis. And so what this will do will allow you, this path will accept anything after /search. So if we go back over to here, let me see if I could zoom in there. Anything past search will just take you to the same page. So all of this will all just work. And so now you can, what you can do is you can capture those details now through your params. And so what I want to do is I want to create, fix this a bit here. What I want to do is I want to create an interface for the params. And what do we have? Search params actually comes from, which is weird. This comes from I wish you could like actually import this from just a regular Next. I'm not sure why this isn't exposed like that, but this is how it works. And what that is just kind of a way of adding a type to any type of query string. Basically, search params is your query string, and so a query string can come in as your key, but it can be the value could be a string, or it can be an array of strings, or it could be completely undefined. And so I could just copy this and do it myself instead of importing it, but so it's kind of up to you how you want to manage that. And then params this is where the slug is. And in case you're unaware, all of these things come in as promises. And so you have to await them. And so for params, we're going to do params and search params. And we're just going to search page props like that. And so now what we can do is I'm just going to go ahead and start maybe doing some outputting the JSON. And we can do, just copy this. So here you can see we have this path that's got all of this information after the slash search. And so you can do, you know, 1, 2, 3 like that. And you can see all of these come in as strings. So we have an array here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to be able to say that that first item in the array will be, it would be like city. So you can see here with city / Knoxville, you have city as the first one, Knoxville as the second one. And then also now we have search params. So if we take property, let's say type equals single family. And there you go. You have property type equals single family. Now, if you have multiple single family or multiple property types, we'll do condo. And this is where that array comes in. So this is not payload related. This is just the way Next.js manages your query string params. Query string params are already just a part of Next.js, just in case you're not aware. This is nothing I've added. This is just part of Next.js that you have access to. And so, and this is how they parse the query string for doubled up or multiple items of the same key. And so now that we have this, we can now start to manage the result of these and kind of transform them into a way that we can use as payload, where clause and pagination and all of that. So, all right. Where do I want to go with this? Let's see here. We have, so let's, we're going to, you have to, because these are promises, you first have to await them. So we have const slug equals await, and we're going to do params like that. Oh, of course we need to async this function. So now we have slug, which is that array, and then query string params, const query string or query params equals await search params. All right. And so let's try that. There we go, slug and query params. All right, so now I'm going to create a function that's going to take the slug and the query params and give me all of the search criteria that I need to properly make the search. So I'm going to create a function called parse URL to search criteria. This mic keeps sliding down. Please don't move. All right. So let's go into, let's see here. create a function in here called I'm just going to call this search utils. And in here, we're going to create a function called parse URL to search criteria. And so that will take in the slug and the query string params and output an object suitable for payload. And the parameters are, I'm going to call this path segments. That's basically the same as the slug. And that's going to be a string, an array of strings, just like you saw here. And so, and we're going to default that to an empty array. And then URL query params, and that will be search params, just like we had before. And you can see here, that's where they're being imported from. And so now, and we're going to do a bit of, I wish this would, I'm going to do, browser a little bit. It's a little better. And I need to wrap this. Is there a quick way to wrap these in VS Code? The setting. Did this change it? There we go. That's better. All right. Zoom in maybe a little bit more. So because this is an array, and we know that the first item in the array is going to be the search type. So it's either going to be city or zip code. And so what I can do is I can just say const and we're going to call that thing, whether it's a city or a zip code, we're just going to call that query. And so we're going to say query, then the value, query value. And we're going to say equals path segments, like that. So now if we output that, let's just for now show you what I'm talking about. Like that. And go back over to here. And so now we can say const search criteria equals, and then we call that parse and we want to pass in slug and search params like that, or query params like that. So now if we say, let's just output this so we can see what we're doing. All right, so now you can see here we have search criteria, which includes the query. So the query is going to be city, or it can be zip, like that. And so we have query value and query zip. And so that's all we need for the path segments. So let's go back to the function. So we're gonna set up an object again. Like I said, this is gonna respond. This is gonna output an object suitable for payload. But I want to get that. I want to get the type all set up for that. And so we first of all have search query types, city or zip, and then we have a set of filters. And so city and zip are one of belong to a set of filters. And so now we're going to have a search filter keys, so possible keys. And so I'm just going to copy and paste this. And so I'm calling it search filter keys. So the available keys for filters are city, zip, property type, property status, min price, max price, min beds, and min baths. And so now let's default the search filters to be of that type. And we need a type here called. So search filters are going to be a record of one of these keys and a string or a number, or string of an array, set of an array, or an array of numbers, or null. And so what I want to do is set up a default object here. In our parse function. So instead of passing that, we're going to just return filters. That should update our browser. And so now you can see here, this is our default set of filters that we're going to be passing to Payload. And so let's start. So now we're going to step through each of these filter keys, and then inspecting the query, the path segments and the query string params to set each one of those. And so what I want to do is if query and query value we're going to say filters query equals, say, query value. Now we're getting a type error on here because query is treated as any. And so what I want to do, I want to, we're going to force this to be a type of search query keys, or sorry, types, search query types, and string. All right, so let me go to make this even smaller, maybe. There we go. All right. So now query is coming back as one of these search query types. Query value is just going to be a string. And so now this is fine. Now I could also check to make sure that query, yeah, you can do, let's say, you could do a filter. You can just make sure that query equals one of city or zip. So they can do, let's just make a const here. Const valid queries equals city zip, and then you can say if query and dot includes query, then that should work. All right, so you can see already here, zip is being populated. So that's working. So, but if I did something else, some other thing that is not a zip or a city, you can see it just defaults to empty. Goes back to our default set of filters. There we go. All right, so now we have a city or zip set. And now we're just going to go through each one of these. Do filters, property type, filters, you know, all of that. So I'm going to create a function rather than having a bunch of conditional logic. I'm going to create a function that kind of handles that logic so that the function will do the condition, but also return like a default value, like null or whatever you want to be the default value. And so for property type, like I said, we want to be able to accept multiple property types, not just one. And so you can see here, property type is an array. So I'm going to create a function that allows you to parse the query string for multiple parameters. And so I'm going to create a function called get parameter values rather than value. And I'll just put that down here for now. And so what this does is it takes a string or an array of strings or undefined. This will be the, so in this case, the query string param property type. And then you can set a default value. And it's either going to be an array of strings or null. And then I just check to see, is this param an array? If it is greater than 0, then pass the param as is, or default value. And then if it's a string, you set it as an array. So the way Next.js handles those query strings parameters is if it was a single item, like if it was just you only had property type once in the query in the URL, it would return the value as a string. So we do need to check for that. So I kind of want to know if we're expecting an array, I want to convert that string to an array. And so we're normalizing a specific filter to always be an array, whether or not Next.js gives you an array. And then if it's not a string, we're going to go back to that default value. And so now we're going to go ahead and grab that here. And so here we have, so filters property type. You can see already it's giving us what we want. We're passing in query string params, URL query params, property type. And this could be an array of strings, an array of numbers, or empty or undefined. And then this is our default value. Although you could do actually that, set it up like that. And so let's see, so that happened. So this is working. So let's remove one of these. So you can see here, it's, even though Next.js is going to treat this as a string, we're normalizing it to an array. So property type, array, single family. Now, if we don't have property type, it just defaults to that empty array. All right, so the next one is property status, and we're not going to, in my app, we're only going to allow filtering by a single status. And so these functions kind of make it flexible for you on how you want to deal with these query string param, these filters. So maybe in your app, you want your visitors to be able to search for multiple statuses, maybe for sale and pending, maybe. But for me in this app, we're just doing single, and mostly this is just to show you that there are all kinds of ways of managing that. We can do either way. So I'm going to create a function called get single parameter value rather than get multiple values. And of course, that would end up getting normalized to a single value. And so now I have get single parameter value. Param, again, can either be a string, an array of strings, or undefined. And then if it's undefined, you can pass a default value. And again, I check to see if it is an array, then I grab the first item in the array and return just that. You can also do, if you want, you could conceivably do like a join, maybe. I'll show you what I mean by that. But if it is a string, then you just return the param as is, else default value. So let's grab that. So now we're going to say, we're going to do the status now. And so we have property status, get single parameter value, query string params, property status, or empty string. And so let's see what happens if we add property status. You can see it is a string, not an array. But if we were to add another property status, and we'll do it like, I don't know, pending or something. It ignores the second one and just returns the first one. But I was saying maybe if you want, I suppose you could do, I don't know why you would, or maybe, I don't know, maybe you can do join like that, and you can just join it by a param, a comma, or pipe, or whatever, right? And so now you can see here, it's joined. Maybe you want to do it that way, I'm not sure. But we're not going to do that. We're just going to take the first one. Anything after is going to be ignored. So you can see here, I'm really making sure that you can't, the URL query string parameters are fail-safe. So like I'm putting in a lot of constraints around it so that you don't accidentally, I don't know, add something to your payload where clause or something that might break it. And so I'm just trying to avoid all of that by making sure all query string params are validated and passed through. And so now that we have these two functions, get the values or a single value, now we can just finish. I can just copy and paste the rest of these filters down. So we have minimum price, get single parameter value, max price, get single parameter value. And honestly, these could be empty strings too. Yeah, that's probably better. All right. So that's going to be our search criteria that we're going to use for payload. But before we do that, I'm going to remove anything that's undefined or empty or null or anything like that, so that really the only thing left is going to be items that have filters that have a value to them. And so here we're going to do, we're going to clean these up. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the keys of all of the filters. I'm going to, for each of those, and then the key as search filter keys, if it equals null, then you delete it. And so that's kind of why I had these as null. Actually, I don't want them to be in the response, the output. So min baths. So there we go. Now, city, where's city? City. Yeah, I guess we could do, let's just do these as null also. There we go. And let's just do these as null. All right, so we have our filters. Everything's been parsed and contained and validated to make sure that we only, no matter what you put in the URL, the only thing that we're going to be passing to payload are the exact filters that we want to use. And so we're going to be passing this. We're going to pass it back to payload in a different format. I'm just outputting this to kind of show you the progress. But actually, I want to pass an object that's going to look more like query first of all. So we have I want to pass what the query was. Is it a zip or was it city? I also want to pass all of the filters, of course. So we have our filters. And then options. Yeah, so let's set up the options. Options are like what page are you on? The limit. So maybe you only want to show, you want to limit the number of listings in the search to 20 or 10 or whatever you want. So let's set up those options. And we can just do that right here. Const options equals, and then we can set, just like we did for the filters, we will set up a default set of options. So sort, we will just make that be, we'll call that relevance for now. And page, of course, the default will be 1. And actually, we can start using our functions too, our get single parameter value for this stuff. So this is just that same function, and we pass a default value, and I'm just forcing it to be a string. And same with page. Let's call this page, and of course we just make that 1, and that'll be a number like that. And lastly, limit. Oops, what did I do wrong? Oh, limit. There we go. And now we pass the options down through here. And there we go. So now the object looks a little bit more relevant to what we're going to need for payload. So now we have that. All right, so I think, so that's the URL. Everything's going to be controlled through the URL, and I think we're done with that. I think that's what we're gonna end it. I'm running out of time, but I think this is a really good starting point. I want to set up a really solid foundation for being able to set those filters, and so I think this is a really solid fail-safe way of managing those filters and your options. Now we can pass that to in the next stream, I'm going to go ahead and start building out that query in Payload. And then maybe we'll also touch on the UI as well, of course. We're going to set up the UI completely static. And yeah, so that is how I'm going to approach this. I'm going to be doing more streaming because yeah, it will allow me to not have to worry about editing or anything like that. I can just run through it. And so yeah, all right. Hope you found this better, interesting, educational, fun. We'll see you hopefully. I'm going to try to do these actually more than once a week. Now that I know that I don't have to spend time editing and all of that, I think I could probably squeeze in 30 minutes here and there, 40 minutes, maybe even an hour in the morning before work. And so that'll allow me, I think that'll be better. I'm kind of excited about this, and so we'll see how it goes. And thanks for jumping on. If any of you are here, I'm not even sure if anyone's watching, but all right. Thanks a lot. We'll see you in the next one.